We are completely disconnected at present, yes. But we are also together and alive.
What's up, Lore Masters? Today we will be looking at Discovery's second episode, Far From Home. I'll be honest, I wasn't looking forward to watching this. I, in fact, had to force myself to do so. It is quite likely that I would never be watching Discovery again if not for what I do for you guys. And then, while watching it, an interesting thing happened. This episode, didn't suck. Certainly, this isn't the best Trek that I've ever seen, not even in the top 20, but it was a very manageable one. It would be like your standard fare Season 4 or 5 episode of TNG or Deep Space Nine. Let's just get into it.
Reese, fire now!
The one most noticeable thing about this episode is its amazing lack of Michael Burnham, and that, unfortunately, is what really elevates the story. Let's deep dive that for a moment, though. Your standard ignoramus that touts that he is a We Are Starfleet fan will see that Michael is black and, in an amazing display of racism, assume that the color of her skin is impacting why I didn't like the episode, at least the first one, and do like the second episode. The truth, however, is far more nuanced than that, something quote-unquote anti-racists have a really hard time with. What I decided to do is that I honestly tried to analyze something that I've purported about Starfleet officers for a while. Something that is amazingly true when you really look into Trek and the specific Starfleet officers. Every human in Starfleet is a Mary Sue. They are able to do things modern computers can't do. They figure things out far faster than anyone can, and they are amazing diplomats, incredible tacticians, and basically are the pinnacle of humanity. The next step is quite literally godhood, or at least that's what the narrative tells us. So, a focus on one of these characters for an entire series is already ill-conceived, especially when you consider the fact that focusing on one person requires for you to hyper-focus on their writing. And when writing a story for a Mary Sue, the only way to make them stand out is to ensure that their abilities go from a 10 to a 15, on a scale of 10. In this era of writing, characters that are like this, especially in established franchises like Trek, are generally not well received. So when I come to watch this series and I see a character that can outsmart literally everyone, knows things before others do, as well as being able to change the mind of the Terran Empire Empress, it's unrealistic for Trek, and that's saying something. So the writing of Burnham is pretty problematic, and it's why even those who like the show and like Michael say the hero worship is too much. And because of this, when you remove not her, but the hero worship of her, and let an episode breathe with the other characters, it actually does pretty well. So let's get more into the episode. The Discovery crash lands on a planet of doom with ice that is parasitic and kills everything when it gets dark. Okay, well, that's weird, but if there's one thing about Disco-era Trek, it's that it's far more fantastical than that of Legacy Trek. There is a lot of mysticism to it. As stated, the ship is damaged to hell and back, and they must get out alive to find Burnham.
No translator means no communication, not within the ship, not outside of the ship, and not to Michael wherever she is.
There is some Burnham hero worship here. The Empress is particularly annoying in that regard, but luckily it ends quick enough. They determine they will have to get some tech from a nearby settlement to fix their ship as well as repair a whole slew of other things. And now we're off to the races. Holy... Hey there, friend. Got another Loot Crate promotion for you. What the hell are you doing here? I didn't even get paid for the last campaign I did. Oh, they paid you. Just as your manager, I took the money. What? How's that even legal? Oh yeah, I work for CBS. Told you that last time. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Anyway, this newest Loot Crate, you're going to love it. It's Westworld. You're a huge fan of that science fiction series, right? I don't think I've even seen a full episode of that series. Of course you are, if you could just get to making that promotion. Yeah, I'm not working for you. I'm not going to do a promotion. Loot Crate's fine, but nah, I'm good. Tell you what, I'll throw in a free year of OnlyFans, any account you want. You ever heard of Maddie Doll or e-girl Titana? What's up, Lore Masters? I want to give a special shout out to Loot Crate. For those who have been a part of the channel, you know that they did one campaign with me and you guys were so receptive, they wanted to do another. Not only do you get stuff you love, but I get a kickback for every Loot Crate that's purchased using the link below. So go take a look. If you like what you see, definitely subscribe and tell them Lore Reloaded said hey. Saru and Tilly make for the settlement while everyone else tries to fix the ship. The back and forth between the captain and an ensign who isn't used to all of this is some of the best dialogue I've heard in Disco-era Trek and is probably one of my top favorite back and forths in all of Trek.
Sorry, sir, I'm talking because I'm scared.
I know. Keep talking, Ensign.
It shows a captain that is there for someone who isn't used to the situation they are in. He's patient and kind, and it works. The two make it to the settlement only to be caught and, in a great piece of writing, are saved by Tilly.
We are officers of Starfleet.
Prove it.
You have already identified our ship.
Anyone could be flying that ship.
Starfleet Regulation 256.15. Officers shall display behavior befitting an officer at all times. Which is why we're not freaking out right now by being held at phaser point by a bunch of strangers.
We see that Starfleet is no longer a part of this area of space, but there are people who still believe in it, remember what it was and what it stood for. They want to help the crew of Discovery so that hope can be restored and evil is put back into its place. These technicians, I guess is what we'll call them, offer to help and get about fixing the Discovery tech.
Hello, Cal. How's the family?
Unfortunately, they are interrupted by someone who should be known as Space Negan, and forever and always, when we see him, that's how I'll refer to him. Space Negan is evil, and of course his gun of doom is basically a Lucy. To somewhat address it, I know I am being pretty vague here, but that's honestly by design. I want to pick and discuss relevant pieces and things that might come in from other eras, and Legacy Trek especially. But I don't want to spoil this for anyone who's interested and hasn't watched it. If you want to know what happened in the impacts, I'm here. If you want to still be surprised by a few things, I try to write it in a way that allows that to happen too. The Empress shows up and ultimately they defeat Space Negan with a fun standoff between Saru and the former villain. Saru leaves the fate of Space Negan up to the people there and they decide to let him live, ultimately giving him a suicide mission, so that's interesting.
Jet, thanks for nothing.
Back at you, Bobcat.
Bobcat.
I don't know, I'm on drugs.
There isn't a lot done on the Discovery itself beyond everyone trying to get everything fixed and constantly feeling like they are failing. There is good character growth between Stamets and Reno, which is probably the best piece of that entire arc. The back and forth between the two is pretty touching and you can tell they really work well together. Again, there isn't a ton to sink your teeth into here beyond the characters growing. I'm going to go ahead and discuss the end, which arguably has some major spoilers, so you might want to stop watching now if that matters. In 3, 2, 1. So after trying to get out of the ice, it's unclear if they're going to make it. We can't be 100% sure. I honestly thought they were going to be fine, but ultimately they couldn't get away in time before another ship shows up. They are grabbed by the tractor beam and, lo and behold, who could it be but one Michael Burnham. She pulls them from the planet and everything is okay. A lot of people see this as Michael saving them at the end, and it could be that. Honestly, it's left a bit vague in my opinion. But given the backstory and what Michael is written to be, I can see why people would assume this. It only shows how unfortunate and how stained that character is. The ending didn't hurt the episode for me, but it did for quite a few people. I get it. At the end of the day, as I said, it's a serviceable episode and at least makes me interested to see episode 3. So things are looking up, marginally. And a better review for me on Discovery there never was. What are your guys' thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next Lore Reloaded.